Thailand.
This video series is about a 2,600 kilometer journey on tiny motorcycles.
It's you on video. Hello everyone.
As a group, we started in Kuala Lumpur and bought our own bikes, prepping them for the journey ahead. Join us as we spend nearly 2 weeks in the saddle. First, riding out for the Malaysian highlands, where we took on the nation's highest road.
Yeah, oh, there's a ute coming, be careful.
Before heading over the border into southern Thailand. The largest capacity engine on this journey is 125cc, and we stayed in 8 different locations along the way. Anyway, this intro is long enough already. Let's kick into it. Malaysia. Home of over 30 million people and more than 16 million motorcycles. And soon, I'd be the owner of one of those motorcycles. If you've watched Small Bike Stuff before, you'll know I have a penchant for two-wheeled machines, preferably small and slow. One of the first videos released on this channel was a 30-minute summary of a motorcycle trip between 2 friends and I. We started in Kuala Lumpur and ended in Bangkok, Thailand. We'd always wanted to do it again, and plans were made for 2020, but by 2023, I'd finally had enough of just thinking about it and decided to put a plan into action. So what exactly was the plan? The original 2019 trip saw us arrive in Kuala Lumpur, buy motorcycles, ride them in 7 days all the way to Bangkok, Thailand, while stopping in a different place each night along the way. It was an incredible adventure, but there were a few major flaws. Number one, we only rode one way. It's nearly impossible to sell a Malaysian bike in Thailand, but we were set on this route, so at the end of the trip we decided to harvest the good parts of our bikes, send them home and recycle the rest. This meant our total bike cost was a lost investment, and the new trip had to start and finish in Malaysia so the bikes could be sold and some costs recouped. Number 2, the first trip had been too fast paced. I mean, it's not like we were doing large distances in the scheme of things, but considering it would be the only time in our lives we could see some of these places, it didn't make sense that we were just riding past them, all at great haste. With all that taken into account, the new plan was set. We'd start and finish in Kuala Lumpur, we'd still cross the border into Thailand, but this time we'd only go as far north as Surat Thani before heading back down towards Malaysia. We'd have 2 proper break days, one in Krabi, Thailand, and another one over the border in Penang, Malaysia, and most riding days would be fairly easy at around 200 to 300 kilometers max, with one long day towards the end. Anyway, that's enough pretext, enough explanations, let's jump straight into it. 12 hours in the air, and we arrived in Malaysia. Wait, who's we? Well, I'm Callum, organiser of the adventure, and originally I had 5 extras coming along, but one attendee, Neil, who actually helped me film the Hustler mini bikes videos, was unfortunately hit off his motorcycle in New Zealand and left with a broken foot. So we were down to a total of 5, 4 plus myself. Andrew, he made it, the original attendee of the 2019 adventure, and he's regularly featured on Small Bike Stuff over the years. He also managed to convince his dad to come along, introducing Moray. Having grown up on a classic Kiwi farm, Moray is no stranger to motorcycles. This is his first trip to Southeast Asia. Others coming along from New Zealand were Zach, a motorcycle enthusiast from New Zealand that takes pleasure in tastefully modifying his machines, including a 181cc Honda Monkey. And finally, we have Chris, originally hailing from the UK. Chris has lived in New Zealand since the 90s. He owns multiple motorcycles, including the Honda CT 110 with a Lifan swap, the Honda Magna 50, and the Honda MT50, which all featured here on the channel. Chris and Zach were arriving a day later than Moray, Andrew, and myself. So with the introductions all done, it's time to jump straight into it. Okay, one more introduction. Through the magic of the internet and a love of small bikes, I managed to meet a local called Waikiat. He's no stranger to small bikes and regularly rides north into Thailand, completing famous routes such as the Mae Hong Son Loop. And a couple of days before flying, I asked Waikiat if he'd like to join us, considering we had an extra spot, and he gladly accepted. So you'll see him regularly throughout the trip. In fact, without him, the trip would have been a whole lot less awesome than it was. So now, really this time, let's jump straight into it.
Yeah.
We arrived on a Friday, for no other reason than flights had been slightly cheaper for this date.
Okay, we got it, okay.
I'd organised a driver to pick us up from the airport, as when you've got 3 of you it's not that expensive to split the costs, and he would take us around motorcycle shops in Kuala Lumpur that day. Our first stop, after a long drive, it's about 45-50 minutes from the airport into the city, was KKS Motor Trading, and this was a shop dedicated to selling second-hand bikes. We'd found them through online searching and spent a bit of time going through all the options. They had a healthy amount of choices, but we had more dealers to visit, so we took notes, had a look around, and then went on our way. Next was a dealer mainly focusing on new bikes. They did have a small lineup of used options out the front, and they were kind enough to start a couple of them up for us.
For the GBJ for the
Yeah, understand.
But the prices were higher than the first spot, and the bikes seemed a bit ignored, if you know what I mean. Moray did go for a test ride here.
How does it ride? Terrible?
Other than got no brake, no back brake.
Yeah.
We get all downshifter, that's what got me.
Ah, okay. I'll let you get back there, there's a car coming.
And with that, it was time for lunch. Mamak number 1 of the trip.
No, my mark.
That was quick. Onto another set of shops. Again, not many used bikes available here. And here the prices weren't so bad, but we needed 5 total, and there was only 1 here that looked suitable for us.
Those were like that Mad Dog fast bike from back in the day. I really do like them. I've always liked the tail end. Yeah. Yeah, you have 1 or 2. Depending, and you don't want to have 1 on 1 and 2, the other on 2.
This was also where we met Waikiat for the first time. We also got to see his bike that he'd be using for the trip. By this point, we'd killed enough time to check into our townhouse, which was specifically chosen for this large space to park bikes, and after a quick trip out to dinner, that was about the end of day 1.
So good, eh?
Alright, well here we are in Malaysia. This is Kuala Lumpur. We're way out of the city centre per se. Although if you look in the distance there, you can see Merdaka, which is the tallest building. And the second tallest building in the world, tallest building in Malaysia. So this is the place we're looking at, and we're quite keen to buy bikes from KKS. There's Andrew and Moray over there. We're just waiting for the son of the owner to turn up because he's who we were dealing with yesterday. But
We woke up today killing time with breakfast and a quick walk around the local area. Now, a lot of shops in Malaysia open from 10 AM to 10 PM, and we knew we wanted to go back to KKS Motor Trading this morning, so we did. The other 2 were arriving that morning and would be in the city early afternoon, so we didn't waste any time and got straight to testing bikes.
you can't open it too far because of the...
And Moray set his eyes on a Yamaha Legenda, the entry-level Yamaha Kapchai. This one was 115cc, fuel injected, and from 2020.
Moray may have found his bike, maybe not. We don't know.
We brought one helmet along today for test riding, and off he went.
Andrew bought a 110 carbureted version last time, and this here is injected with fuel. Pretty cool little machine, 4-speed semi-automatic. Maybe just go up the side road first and then maybe go down here as well.
We chose secondhand for a few reasons. They're cheaper to buy, there's less monetary loss when we sell them at the end. There were no limits on what the guys could buy and ride, it was honestly up to them, but instinctively we were all looking for an entry-level underbone motorcycle, otherwise known as a Kapchai.
Here he comes. Keep going if you want. What do you think? I was arguing with Andrew that they're not the wrong way. That's the way the wave is, so it's right. Go down there if you want a bit more. You happy? Sounds sweet as a nut. So this is the one that Andrew's thinking about. This is a red Honda Wave Alpha 110. MBC 110 engine, electric start.
Now Andrew liked the look of this Honda Wave, known as the Alpha 110, essentially Honda's entry-level Kapchai in Malaysia. This one was red, and that was about the only feature.
Some shop that don't sell second hand.
Yes.
So they're second hand, they send you buy second hand all the parts from us.
Yeah.
So maybe I can go second hand buy again.
Here he is, Andrew, testing his Honda Wave Alpha 110. Feels alright?
Yeah.
Did you go through every gear?
Yep.
Do you want to go up and down there again?
No, okay.
Yeah, mate, go again. We need to check over his one because we didn't really check it over either. Here he comes. If he can navigate the traffic without dying. It does, eh? Feel good?
Yeah.
Sweet, let's have a look over it. Chuck it on the centre stand.
Turns out I found one exactly the same, except it was blue and 1 year newer.
You guys forgot to do the most important test. Start in fourth gear.
What a great success. The 3 bikes we rode were solid. We checked them out a little bit more in depth and then said yes to all of them. So we had a Honda Wave Alpha 110 for Andrew and I, and Moray had secured a Yamaha Legenda 115.
Check we can do it clean, that's about it really. It's fine, ride's really nice. So this is the shop, and we're just sitting here, and it's got a lot more bikes than last time, Andrew. Do you remember how many bikes that shop had 5 years ago?
Maybe 20.
20 max. This has probably got like 50 or 60 bikes here in this area, and then there's a not yet sorted out section over there, I guess, which is kind of cool. All together, that's our that's 3 motorbikes. Thanks, Vincent. So that was painfully easy. By painfully easy, I mean it wasn't painful at all, but I just spent all my money. So basically we've bought 3 bikes, they're over here. We've got a Honda Wave 110, we've got 2 Honda Wave 110s, and we've also got a Legenda. So I'll show you through them. Moray's bought a Legenda 115Z, this is fuel injected, wicked little bike. Got a little bit of underseat storage as well, which is lucky, which we don't, but you know, I didn't think I'll need it, I should be fine without it. I've got my front basket here on my Wave. There's another Wave here, so I've got another front basket. So yeah, they're pretty good little machines. These have a 110cc engine that's shared with a whole bunch of different bikes. They're carbureted, you know, and they're fine. They're just going to do the job and get us to where we need to go. So yeah, those are our 3 bikes. 1, 2, 3, 2 Hondas, 1 Yamaha. We beat you, mate.
Oh, were you waiting in the car for us?
No, we just got out. Yeah. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too.
Not long after securing our bikes, Zach and Chris arrived fresh off the plane from New Zealand. Both Zach and Chris had their eyes on Hondas in the beginning.
Went to 4 or 5 shops between yesterday and today. That's Andrew's bike getting his top box put on. Do you want to get both of those out and have a look at them?
Let's have a look. Yeah, they're right.
Can we both, to future, have a look? There's also a Honda Wave over here with twin disc brakes, which is pretty fancy.
This one 2022.
2022. Those ones are much cheaper because they're older.
Yeah.
And he's saying to us, don't really think so much about the kilometres. It's more about take it for a ride and see how it feels and see how it sounds and stuff like that.
The Honda Future is essentially Malaysia's release of the Honda Wave. They had two on offer, a bit older than the bikes Andrew Moray and myself had chosen. After test riding them, we found an issue with the swing arm on one that couldn't really be fixed in time for us to leave, and the other one felt a little bit down on power to the other guys, so I decided to have a ride. Honestly, to me it felt fine, but they are right, it did accelerate slower despite having the exact same gearing and engine as the other Honda Future 125 that had the swing arm issue. This issue saw Chris choosing to ditch the brand entirely for a 2013 carbureted Yamaha Legenda 115, similar to Moray's choice, with just age and the lack of fuel injection being the main differences.
Yeah. The wheels are really nice too, with the slotted alloys.
Zach had gone the other direction and found an almost new Honda Wave 125i. It was going to cost 50% more than the Future 125s, and he was hesitant to make the choice, but after a quick ride, it was clear to see that the bike had chosen Zach whether he liked it or not. We handed over money for the bikes right then and there and completed some basic paperwork. Here's where we also confirmed that we wanted rear racks and top boxes on each bike when we picked them up. So it was time to hurry up and wait. We experienced our first rainstorm, and once it had passed, I took the guys into the city centre for dinner and a little explore. Here's a little more info on documentation for buying bikes. For locals, changing ownership into their name can be done almost any time on any day that the dealership is open, simply by just showing your government ID and doing a thumbprint scan on a machine that most dealers have. For foreigners, a trip to the JPJ, which is a government department, is essential, but the JPJs are only open on weekdays. Then we had a full 36 hours-ish to wait until we could officially change names and finally pick up the bikes. Oh, by the way, the guys also ate durian, and you should be proud of them.
Can someone tell me what you're doing?
You should try some of this. Try some of this, what's it called?
Durian.
Come on, more than that. Well, that's a big amount.
With stomachs full and durian finished, we caught a glimpse of this Chinese New Year celebration before deciding to call it a night. We'd done it, essentially. Well, kind of. It was Saturday and our bikes were secured. Hypothetically, they'd be in our possession on Monday after a trip to the JPJ. So we'd done what we came here to do. We had a whole free day to kill before our bikes were able to be picked up. And we had no bikes to help us explore, but that didn't stop us checking out some of the sights in Kuala Lumpur.
So we come up to the top of the KL Tower. Basically, yesterday everyone bought bikes. I'll show you the bikes on Monday because we don't have them yet. We've got to complete the paperwork and documentation. But I've taken everyone up to the top of the KL Sky Tower just so they can have a look at the view around the city. And those mountains up there are the ones we're going up. So we're going to go up there in a few days. So it's really cool to kind of see where we're going to go. And one thing about KL is that it's just way greener than you'd expect if you didn't come here before. I've spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia and it's often quite dry and brown, but the greenery here is really impressive. That little jut out just there, that's Batu Caves right there. So we'll ride there on Tuesday. Batu Caves is there, and halfway up that cliff there's a massive cave. with a Hindu. It's very beautiful. That fountain's blowing my mind. Look how fucking high it's going. That's why the water pressure's so shit at our place, I think. What's happening, Andrew?
I was just filming our accommodation as we're leaving.
Where are we going though?
In a Perodua to the JPJ office.
What do they do?
Government things and change of transfer for motorcycles.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get our bikes today.
It was a beautiful Monday morning and time to get the bikes officially in our names. We didn't film the specific process a huge amount, and you can guess why, but it involved the existing owner of each bike, which in this case was the dealer, presenting their ID and the existing ownership document. They had prepared a sale document which was also shown, and proof of insurance which had already been organised by the dealer was shown. Our passports were also shown along with photocopies, and then we did an ink thumbprint on the passport photocopies, and that was job done. A fresh document is printed with the new owner's details, and we were good to go. And while this looks fast thanks to the magic of editing, it took a few hours for the process to happen for all of us.
Alright, document's done.
Anyway, time to pick up the bikes.
So, here we are at the motorcycle shop. We have one Andrew, Chris, Zach, Moray, and the lovely mechanic. And why are we like minutely excited?
Picking up our bikes.
Yeah, and they work. Let's go show them.
Yeah.
And that's Zach's 125 Mad Dog. Andrew, introduce us to your motorcycle.
2019 Honda Wave Alpha
CC.
110,
Wow.
110cc.
And what features have you got?
Revolving gearbox.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Knee basket.
Yep.
Yep, knee basket.
And we've just had.
Heavy box.
Yeah.
The large size one.
Cool. And then yeah, my one is over here. I've got the Honda Wave Alpha 110 2020 model.
1 year new.
And it's got a fewless case. Its idle's turned up higher, and I got the knee basket. I've also got this as well. Moray has a Legenda. Do you remember what year it is, Moray?
2020.
2020 Legenda 115. And why is this the coolest bike here? Fuel injected. Yes, yes. He's also got a nice knee basket. He actually does have some underseat storage, more so than the Waves, other Alphas. And he's got this nice box as well. And there's another Legenda here. This is Vincent. Yeah. The Mad Dog. If you need to buy a bike in Malaysia, second hand, this is your man.
I got your number here.
Yeah.
My number.
Yeah. And this is the name of the shop.
This is my father.
And this is the father as well. Yeah.
Hey, you want to take a picture of it?
Yeah, we'll take a picture all together. Let's do it.
And this was it, the moment we'd been waiting for. We could finally collect our bikes. It took a little bit of time for the last couple of bikes to get their racks installed that would hold the top boxes. And once that was finally complete, we received the ownership papers.
我等嘛，一個號碼數3個嘅，一朝早8點嘅等。
With the papers on hand, each of us officially owned our own slice of Malaysia by way of Kapchai.
It's me, mate.
See ya.
The next clips show the very first time everyone rode their bikes for more than 2 minutes at a time. We had two things to do. Number one, fill up the tanks, and then second, it was time to prep the bikes. Today was a Monday. The official bike trip started Wednesday morning, but if we could get all the bikes in travelling shape this afternoon, it would effectively give us the next day, Tuesday, to check out some sites close to Kuala Lumpur, effectively giving us a day of high speeds, longer distance and rougher treatment of the bikes, basically mimicking what was going to happen on the trip, but we had the safety net of a whole evening left to visit bike shops and fix anything should it go wrong.
So we are here at somewhere, I don't know, what's the name of this area, Waikiat?
Jalan Ipoh.
Jalan Ipoh. This is Waikiat, he's coming riding with us, local. And they just got motorcycle parts all over the show, so I'm not going to say much, but I'll show you what's here. Those wheels, we talking about the white ones?
Yeah. Thought so.
I wanted new tyres, and Waikiat knew of a good spot with multiple shops in the same location. This was Sentinel Motorcycle Heaven in Kuala Lumpur. I've made an in-depth video about this two-wheel shopping area, and it's available to watch on the Small Bike Stuff YouTube channel right now. Go and check it out. Whilst I got tyres and a new set of brake shoes, others got a mix of things, including tyres, brakes, and even centre stand lubrication.
This is quite mind-blowing. There's just parts everywhere. So many things all over the show. Going on there, we're getting some Pirelli Diablo Rossos. Yeah, I know, you can't get off. So we're just sitting here at the bike park street, and look at this. Honda C70 with some knobblies on it. Looks like the original 70 motor. Nice little front basket there. Cool little machine. Nice little pipe as well, aftermarket. Very cool bike. But all of us over here are getting some form of changes. Andrew's getting a front tire only. What are you getting?
Nexus
Diamond.
Diamond.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
I've got Pirelli Rosso Diablo Sports. He's getting one of those.
Yeah, I'll get one.
Okay. And I'm getting new brake pads now, and Chris is getting a new set of bearings.
Front wheel bearings and tyre.
Thank you, brother.
Waikiat would leave us to relax for a while before eventually coming back later and taking us out to Petaling Jaya, which is still technically in Kuala Lumpur, but a solid 25 to 30 minute ride from our townhouse.
That's everyone here. I'm recording with this audio as well, so I just thought I'd just do a quick thing. So that's my Honda Wave. There's a Legenda carbureted 115, the Mad Dog Honda Wave 125. Well, it was okay, and now it's not worth anything. And then you've got Andrew's got the same bike, and then Waikiat, he's riding an NMAX, but he'll be bringing a Monkey, and then we've got the fuel injected Legenda. Okay, let's do it.
While some were relaxing, others were adding accessories onto their bikes, and I didn't get much footage of this due to the excessive heat. Anyway, time to head to Petaling Jaya. This was our first time hitting heavy traffic, and Waikiat ensured that we got the true Malaysian lane splitting experience. Waikiat was taking us to a local night market in his part of the city. This was such a cool place that I forgot to properly film it, so enjoy these brief vertical videos instead. Market done, we made a quick stop at one of Malaysia's biggest shopping malls purely for a visit to Mr. DIY, a shop so great it needs its own entire video. Once again, I didn't film this part, so you'll just have to watch us heading into the underground motorcycle park. And now we leave. The next stop is a viewpoint recommended by Waikiat, where we would supposedly see the whole city in its nighttime glory.
Stock. It's a stock bike.
We rode to the top of this at first unassuming hill, but by the time we got to the top, we had an uninterrupted view of the entire capital city.
Oh no, it's blocked. So we just rode up to this hill. It's got the best view in all of the city, which I will turn around and show you now. It's better than my face.
It had been a successful day, but the next one would be an early start. We were going to see Batu Caves, followed by Genting Highlands, our first official longer distance test.
Today, brother.
See you, mate.
Today was special. It was my 4th day of being in Malaysia and the first day that would ride properly on our new purchases. It was early in the morning, before sunrise, and the plans were firstly to get breakfast.
There's Chris and Moray and everyone ordering food. We've come to this little breakfast place basically to eat before we got to Batu Caves. So we're going to head up to Batu Caves and then we're going to go to Genting Highlands. And then once we've gone to Genting Highlands, we're going to come home.
Heck, I mean, it's not much after 7 AM and I am already a pile of sweat, which reminds me, the heat. This whole trip we were sitting around 32 degrees Celsius or 90 in freedom units. And this was during the middle of the day, with the only respite being early mornings, late evenings, and then our time in the Cameron Highlands, which was cooler due to its elevation.
Oh, your camera's on too. Yeah, right, look forward, don't look at me.
This wasn't a long day of riding, maybe 150 kilometers total, but it gave us the chance to test each machine on the open road. We'd be experiencing heavy traffic, steep hills, busy highways, and more. It was likely we'd be finished early afternoon, which meant there'd be enough time to visit the plethora of motorcycle shops in Kuala Lumpur, should their services be required. Next, it was time to visit Batu Caves, a nearby cave-based temple. And while the caves are over 400 million years old, this temple got its start in the early 1900s, and to get inside these days, you need to climb up 272 stairs. After the temple, we'd be hitting the highway for a ride up to Genting Highlands.
Yeah. Come on. Yes, that's good. Woohoo.
This highway was fun, and we definitely started to notice the differences between our bikes. Zach and Waikiat with their 125s could hold a better cruising speed than the 110s of Andrew and I. The Yamaha 115s were holding their own, but Chris did have a few moments where the throttle would stick wide open on the way up to the top. Genting Highlands itself is over 1800 metres above sea level and is essentially a hill resort. featuring multiple casinos, an incredible temple, cable cars, a theme park, shopping outlets, and just one of the hotels has over 7,000 rooms. Despite all those seemingly impressive features, we simply came here for the view.
What a place.
Yeah, I like it. Wind noises.
Now what do I do? Pull it.
Yeah, put it this way.
I'll do it from this side. That's cool. Where's 5 ringing?
With the view seen and the bikes happy to continue, it was time to ride back down to the city. Once again, the day had been a success. We had no major issues with the bikes and the actual trip was looking positive. We would be ready to hit the road early the next morning. We spent the afternoon relaxing, test packing our bikes and getting ready for the long haul. Once again, we didn't really film any of this.
So sometimes, very rarely, maybe like once in a whole trip when I'm overseas, I'm going to try the local fast food just to see what it's like, but I'll get a rice dish. So KFC, McDonald's, Burger King, they tend to all do rice dishes. So this is my rice dish. Chicken, my drink, and a burger? No, it's not a burger. It is, eventually, rice. Nice. There you go. Good view too. Wow. Depends what you like looking at. Well, that's us getting ready to go. We'll be leaving in a short time. It's almost 6 a.m. So we're gonna have an early morning, hit the road. Waikeat, our Malaysian friend, is gonna turn up soon. Chris's bike's ready, mine's ready. Everyone's bike's ready. We're just packing them up and checking out of this awesome little townhouse. And we've also woken up the dog next door. Whoops.
Day 5 in Malaysia and the trip was finally beginning. To quickly recap, we all bought bikes on Saturday, changed ownership and picked them up on Monday. We took them for a test ride yesterday, which was Tuesday, and today, Wednesday, we were heading off, leaving the capital for the Cameron Highlands. Our route to the Highlands wasn't exactly direct. The main highway was around 200 kilometers point to point, but we were taking a different route via Fraser's Hill, which would add around 100 kilometers extra to the journey. Departure was early at 6 a.m. and we rode for an hour till we reached our breakfast spot. Humans fueled, we were ready to head towards Fraser's Hill. At the bottom is a dam called Sungai Selangor, so we decided to stop for a quick look at the reservoir. Cool. There you see. And then down into the reservoir. Reservoir seen, we were back on the road. Now, I didn't know it at this point, but I was about to traverse one of the best roads for small bikes I've ever ridden in the entire world. Coming up were endless corners, over 30 kilometers of riding perfection, and that would take us from 235 meters above sea level to around 1500 meters above sea level. Turning off the main road, we made the final crawl up to Fraser's Hill itself, which is a small village area named after a Scotsman. It's got a pretty unique style of architecture for being in the middle of Southeast Asia, and this area was originally mined for tin before being repurposed as a colonial resort in the 1920s, reportedly with the British enjoying the cooler climate of the mountains compared to the capital of Kuala Lumpur.
Early bird does not catch the coffee today. This place is called Fraser Hill, and yeah, they've just decided to make all the buildings look like they're from another country, and it's quite cool. And there's the clock tower. Yeah, that's it. This is the part that I don't usually show in the videos. The not riding. Just sit down, have a 3-in-1. How much did that cost?
6 ringgit for 3.
6 ringgit for 3, so 2 ringgit each. And this is 2 ringgit 50 cent for my medium cold Coke.
At least it's not warm.
And we lost Zach because he's got to do some sightseeing. May or may not come back.
Departing here, we rode towards a small town named Raub, eventually passing through before coming across a big backup of traffic. This was a harsh reminder of the place we were riding. Whilst Malaysia is generally a fairly safe place, the roads can be deadly, with nearly 6,500 people losing their life on the tarmac in 2023 alone. Riding on, we came across another small roadblock, but this one for good reason. This family was celebrating the life of a loved one.
I'd be happy with that celebration for me, that's awesome.
Soon, it was time for a fuel stop and a lunch break. Refueled, we hit the road again, getting closer and closer to the Cameron Highlands.
Looks like a kitten. Look below your feet.
The fast ride slow.
We saw this huge sign attached to the side of a cliff informing us of our arrival into the area. Slightly further down the road, we saw another big white sign, this time across the other side of another reservoir. It was around this point I realised that these signs were all over the whole country and served two purposes: informing you of your location, and doubling as a great photo spot to break up the journey. As the road continued, we started to see the hallmarks of Cameron Highlands: endless farming. Due to its climate, the Cameron Highlands are suitable for growing all sorts of fruit and vegetables, but the specialties of this area are tea and strawberries. We finally turned onto the main road heading towards Cameron Highlands after our large detour. Now the accommodation wasn't far away, but before our arrival we decided to stop at a tea plantation for ourselves. This one was Bo Tea Plantation. Actually, Bo have 4 different plantations in the area and also have the largest one in the whole country. Combined, Bo Tea's output creates over 4 million kilograms of tea per year. That's about 70% of the nation's supply. It's not uncommon for the tea plantations to have a cafe or a tea room on site where you can have the rather colonial experience of a slice or a scone and a cup of tea. With the tea finished, it was finally time to head to our accommodation. Checking in was one of the best parts of the day. We got to drop off all of our gear and wear some less heavy clothing for our time in the Highlands. This specific area is called Tāna Rata, and we knew of one spot that we were certain to visit, the Time Tunnel Museum. This place was honestly amazing. Even Waikiat, a Malaysian local, was excited to see the knickknacks of an era gone by. Like most Southeast Asian nations, development in the country has skyrocketed in the past 20 plus years, and there was a time when most villages and shops looked like this museum was showcasing. They even had some really interesting articles and items about the turbulent time in Malaysia's history.
So if you're ever in Tāna Rata in the Cameron Highlands, try come to this place. It's called the Time Tunnel Museum. It costs 8 ringgit for an adult to get in, 6 ringgit for a child. And it's just full of old knickknacks from Malaysia, you know.
old Shell advertisements. A very, you know, region correct advertisement for Guinness that you just wouldn't see anywhere else in the world. Ovaltine. One of my favourites that I have seen so far is this, you know, Milo. Everyone knows Milo. Look, tonic food drink prepared in Australia. Amazing.
If you're in the area, it's a must visit. And they also had a ton of rabbits for some reason, which you could either buy or feed. And not wanting to deal with a small animal in my knee basket for the rest of the trip, feeding was good enough for today.
Do you guys like the green stuff as well? Okay. You at the back. There you go. There you go. You in the middle.
Oh, and this is one way to showcase the elevation.
So this is Waikeat's tomato ketchup fries. And if you buy these in Kuala Lumpur, the packet's way smaller, but because of the altitude, which are up 1,700 meters at the moment, yeah, it gets really big. This is big too. And that was like swelling at the top. And when you open your water bottles, oh no, not at the moment, but sometimes they explode. Pretty cool.
With that, our first day on the motorcycle adventure was finished. We had completed around 300 kilometers and ridden for over 8 hours. The pace had been awesome and the sights were even better. It was safe to say, along with myself and Waikiat, the others had truly fallen in love with this part of Malaysia. The next day would see us heading back down the mountain and north towards the Thai border. Judging by today's progress, we picked it would be a shorter day and possibly even an early check-in.
Huge, and it's really authentic. It tastes exactly the same as here.
Traffic's a bit better, eh?
We stayed in the Cameron Highlands last night and had a fairly easy 8 AM start. First order of the day was riding a few minutes down the road, taking a left turn and making a beeline for the highest paved road in the country, which reaches over 2,000 meters above sea level. I didn't know exactly what we would see up here, but I just found a couple of pinned locations named Great View and Best View on the map, so off we went.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Keep in mind, this is not a one-way road. Traffic flows in both directions, and it can make for some interesting moments during the peak hours. Luckily, we were up here early.
So yeah, we turned left.
Some of us had to drop to first gear for the steeper inclines. This was serious business.
Oh, left, sorry, I didn't realise.
Thankfully, we had no issue with the carbureted bikes and the change in altitude.
I'm in second, but not for long. My carb is proving itself right now. I can see why this is a good viewpoint. Look, there they are. That's one of them. Oh, there's a ute coming, be careful. Yeah, I think the other one's possibly a bit better, but this is still pretty fucking good. And I think there's another one just up there too. Let's go to the top. I'll tell you when to stop. Ah, just up there. Yeah, that'll be it. This is it. Yep, that's it. Holy shit. Good view, eh?
It was time to whip out the drone. This next clip is what I wish I could show people when they ask, what is the Cameron Highlands?
Look at the screen.
Oh, by the way, Land Rovers. Cameron Highlands possibly has the largest concentration of them in the world. They're used to ferry both people and things up and down these mountainous roads. Land Rover. Whilst a few of us hung out here and marvelled at the view, Andrew and Zach went to see the top, so off they rode. Land Rover. They reached this spot outside the entrance to the famous mossy forest, which is over 2,030 metres above sea level. Land Rover. With the breathtaking sights happily seen, it was time to make our way back down the mountain and start heading north towards Thailand. The traffic was a little busier on the way down, but we made it back to the main road without any major issues. It was time to head towards a city called Ipoh for late breakfast. Down we went. And for some reason we passed a replica Lord of the Rings village, Hobbitoon. Almost 2 hours later we made it to the city Ipoh, ready for what would be our last meal in Malaysia for a while. Lunch complete. Wait, that was actually breakfast, but by the time we hit the road again, it was already after 11 AM. Time to climb a hill, which Andrew and I had actually ridden on our first motorcycle trip 5 years ago. We knew this road, so we knew at the peak there would be an awesome tunnel, which would spit us out the other side. Onto another highway, the long haul continued, all going seemingly well as we rode nearly wide open throttle. Okay, scratch that. Moray's bike actually stopped working. Hear that fast-paced cranking? Andrew and I immediately assumed the worst, pointing our thoughts towards engine failure.
Yeah, spark, so fuel.
Either way, we weren't fixing it here. This was Malaysia, of course, so there was a motorcycle mechanic 5 minutes away. It was time to push Moray to the shop. On the way, this local guy tried to give us a hand, but we had to keep pushing.
We've tried. We're going to go to shop.
This shop was maybe 2 hours riding time from the Thai border, and at this point we had no idea what the issue was. As organizer, I started making plans in my head for the worst case scenario. Maybe Moray has to stay in Malaysia and wait for a fix, and then maybe he crosses alone later. Or maybe one of us stay with him while he gets it fixed. We could even ditch the bike and get him across the border and sort out the bike later. But before I could figure out those logistics, the bike was running mint, like nothing ever happened. It turns out the injector on Moray's bike had been slightly blocked, likely from running the fuel tank too dry. From now on, we'd try fill up a bit earlier and not let the tanks run so dry. Chris also decided that this was a good place to get an oil change. This shop was awesome. The owner showed us through some of his personal bikes before we hit the road.
This is my favorite model in Malaysia.
That's the meth injection.
It is. It's so rare.
Generally, if you go out at like midnight, 1 a.m., when I took an overnight bus from Kuala Lumpur to the border, yeah, about 1 a.m. in the morning, all the boys are racing on the side of the road.
Can't see it, but look.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Chainsaw the thing in half.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's during the race.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised.
Oil everywhere, back wheel.
The border was almost 150 kilometers away. It was after lunchtime now, and we had a while to go. We crossed a bridge with a stunning view. We started to see other groups heading towards Thailand on motorbikes. And we kept riding and riding and riding, eventually finding a quiet insurance shop close to the border. All vehicles heading into Thailand need insurance for their time in the country, so we all purchased a short coverage period here for our motorcycles. Finally, we're close. It's time to push for the Thailand border. As you'd expect, we didn't really film the border crossing in depth. This was the Betong crossing, and this would take us into Thailand's most southern point. First, we presented our passports to exit Malaysia. From there, we had to ride a couple of 100 meters to the Thai side of the border. On this side, we would get off, with immigration and customs split into two sections. First, present our passports and gain entry into the country, and then once that was complete, it was time to present more paperwork to the Thai customs office for our vehicle, in this case, a motorcycle. With paperwork stamped and immigration staff content with everyone on the trip, we were finally in Thailand.
Welcome to Thailand. So that's the border up there. We just crossed it. A little bit different than last time. Last time all we had to do was get all our documents together, present them at one person and come straight through. Here they've split it up into person and motorcycle. So we've done that, and here's all the people leaving, and we can't hang around there and wait.
The time zone changed by an hour between countries, and it was around 4:30 p.m. by the time we made it across the Thai border.
Welcome to Thailand.
First stop, SIM card. Second stop, 7-Eleven. Third stop, time to check in. We made it. It was only 2 days of riding, but we'd hit our second country already. We had around 6 to 7 days in Thailand, and we weren't planning on wasting a second of it. As soon as we'd arrived to drop off our bags, we left back into the small town of Betong. First, we visited a shop named after the road we'd be riding on tomorrow, Route 410. Thailand has plenty of enterprising locals, and those that live near great riding roads often set up shops selling stickers, apparel, and certificates of completion. I bought 4 shirts here, plenty of stickers, and I even got a certificate of completion for the road we would be doing tomorrow. Before long, we rode back to the centre of town and managed to catch a Chinese New Year celebration in the main street. It was also at this point we looked around and realised no one was wearing helmets, even in front of police. Now, I'm the first person to suggest all the gear all the time, but I'm also a fan of the phrase when in Rome, and I like to live in the moment as much as I can. Feeling free and somewhat less safe, we rode around longer and eventually found a dinner spot. Stomachs full and feeling content, it was time to call it a day. We had a 250 kilometer ride coming up tomorrow. We'd be heading to Songkhla Old Town. It was an awesome, smaller seaside location, and we needed to get some rest before we went on our way. Time to leave the border town of Betong in southern Thailand. Final destination for today would be Songkhla Old Town, around 250 kilometers away. This day started with breakfast as usual, but this one must have been extra delicious because I didn't manage to capture any of it on camera. Full of food, it was time to ride a short distance to the Pyramid tunnels, the first of 3 planned stops along the way to Songkhla. School bus. Yeah, so they call these guys, any ute that has seats parallel on the back is called a song tao. Song means 2 and tao means row. So they got 2 rows of seats in the back. This wasn't my first time in the south of Thailand, but it was my first time in the deep south. This was an area that some countries advised against travelling to entirely, due to the occasional act of insurgency which can occur. But why? Well, really it's a long story and I'm not going to get totally into it, but the Pyramid tunnels did tell one early part of that story. Now, these tunnels, not directly related, but they were dug in only 3 months by a team of 40 to 50 people. This happened back in 1976 and was completed by communists from the Malay side.
Can you give me a brief history of where we are?
No, not at all.
Do you know what it's called?
Tunnels.
Pyramid tunnels.
I saw the sign, but didn't remember it.
Yeah. My rough understanding is that there were Malaysian people that came over the border here in the 70s and built tunnels and then would keep their weapons in them and go fight people and then hide.
Nice.
Should we see how wrong I am?
Yep.
Let's go.
They used them as a base to store weapons and themselves, heading out for the occasional skirmish with authorities. The Pyramid tunnels weren't the only built by the Malay communists, but eventually as time passed on, their struggle against the ruling party of Malaysia slowly ceased. And in 1987, the last 400 men and women left these tunnels to surrender, with each person being offered the chance to remain in Thailand and become citizens, or to head back over the border and start life again in Malaysia. Unsurprisingly, many chose the former option, and some of those people still work here today as guides. This was the infamous Betong Route 410, riding heaven, absolutely unmatched in every way. Wait, the first day on Fraser's Hill was totally better than this. I mean, Route 410 wasn't exactly bad, and we definitely had a good time riding on it, but the good sets of corners were clogged up with cars, pickups and trucks, and they were also quite short sets of corners as well. I'd still recommend riding this road if you can, but try to make sure it's before you ride the Mae Hong Son Loop in northern Thailand, or you ride Fraser's Hill in Malaysia. Waikiat was proving how invaluable his experience was with a unscheduled stop at Moon Lake. This was a recently built accommodation option next to Bang Lang Lake, essentially a huge reservoir caused by the Bang Lang Dam completion in 1981.
Yes, mate. What'd you get? Show us. Nice. Extra 50% extra peanuts.
We had a quick drink before hitting the road again, only for a few minutes as our second scheduled stop of the day was coming up. A high viewing point over the lake, which is also the perfect place to get some aerial shots. We'd barely ridden 50 kilometers and already stopped 3 times since we left this morning. So it was time to drop a gear and disappear. We had somewhere to be. After a quick gas stop. And then a 7-Eleven stop as well. Now for real this time, it was time to drop a gear and disappear. This was our first proper rain of the trip, and honestly it was kind of nice. Those of us that had ponchos put them on, and as a group we kept riding. The showers started and stopped for a while. You'd be soaked through in seconds, only to dry in minutes once the rain stopped. Rinse and repeat for a while till we got closer to the Gulf of Thailand. We had a little over 70 kilometers to go till our next and final stop before checking into our accommodation. It was in the city of Hat Yai, the main city of Songkhla province, but we were staying about 30 kilometers away in the old town of Songkhla, so this stop would take us slightly off track. It's Cub House. This is a boutique dealership offshoot started by Honda Thailand specifically to market their modern classic range of Honda Cubs, Daxes, Monkeys, and the CT125. Each branch has a cafe in-house, and we weren't really needing anything from the dealer, but it was a nice stop along the way for some small bike enthusiasts, half a world away from their normal lives in New Zealand. Time to knock off the final distance for the day to Songkhla Old Town. It was a fairly uneventful ride, but I did enjoy seeing the ocean again after being inland for the past week. Here we are, accommodation time, and as usual it was time to drop our bags and get things done. 3 of us wanted an oil change, so we rode to a shop 2 minutes away and got that sorted. The bikes probably would have been fine without one, but it's a cheap exercise to complete and only took 15 minutes of our evening.
Oh, can you tell us what you're doing? Sorry. Anyway, this is Andrew's bike. And now that he's finished his mouthful.
Eating a twin pineapple filled bite.
Where's the other one?
I ate it already on the road.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever travel again without open face helmets, eh?
No,
Flip up helmets.
Yeah.
I've actually got a good friend in Songkhla Old Town called Nuttawut. I met him on the first motorcycle trip we did in 2019. He produces, procures, ships and builds both bikes and parts locally and internationally. We checked out his classic small bike collection, then got dinner, spent the rest of the night together and enjoyed the sights of Songkhla Old Town.
This is smuggling. Just chop it in half. Widthways. You don't have to have stuff in a bag to check it in. But you've got to...
buy an extra bag.
Yes, you can. Who are you guys with?
Exploring the smaller, lesser known towns of the south introduced the country to my friends in a way that most don't experience on their first time here. Just down the road from the beachfront pubs were endless people parked up and hanging out. It was Friday night. People were taking a break after their working week, and it felt awesome to be right in the middle of it all. It's moments like this that feel like the true Thailand. People having a great time, not a tourist in sight, well, except for us, of course.
RG, really? You didn't tell me that.
This guy is a closet like.
Yeah. He have me...
Okay, yes, Aji.
150 same VR, same Yamaha, iSet,
I said
Yeah.
I said one T5.
Tomorrow would be an easy day, straight up the coast to Nakhon Si Thammarat. But that's enough for today. We'll end it here in the wonderful town, old town, of Songkhla, Thailand. We'd gotten pretty used to the routine by now. Packing the bikes was quick and easy, which meant from checkout to ride out, we wasted barely any time. Today would see us follow the Gulf of Thailand further north to the province of Nakhon Si Thammarat. We were staying there for one reason. The location would set us up for an incredible day of riding on day 5. So today's ride was essentially a basic trip up the coast.
Hey, Waikea, do you mind if I splash up on your one? Because otherwise I'm only going to use like 15 baht.
First port of call, the vehicle ferry to cross Songkhla Lake.
Costs 3 baht per person. But if you have a sidecar, it's 10 baht. Job creation.
From here, it was time to hurry up and ride. The road was long, straight, and fairly uneventful, but thankfully, Waikea knew of a way to break up the journey. Honestly, at this point, I was starting to wonder what we'd do without him. Finding Waikea was a huge fluke, or a stroke of luck, if you will. Before this trip, we'd only met on Facebook, and without even having met face to face, he agreed last minute to join us on this journey. Now, for the umpteenth time, he was taking us on a side road to a magical location we had no idea about. This time, it would be the Talenoi Bridge. This was a huge bridge next to the Lake Talenoi. This body of water is incredibly shallow, and in the wetlands we could see endless birds and other wildlife like water buffalo, making the most of the unique environment.
I'd like a full historical explanation.
Queen in the hut one time.
Yeah.
Buffalo,
Yes.
bridge.
That was pretty good. Thanks, man.
After stopping for a look, we decided to get a nice cool drink somewhere close by to relax after seeing such incredible sights. So a stop at this lakeside cafe was totally worth it. Upon leaving, the guys told me to turn the camera on and look to the right. Water buffalo skulls, anyone? Apart from this little side trip, the rest of the day was fairly uneventful riding. We did do a quick U-turn for some roadside pad krapao. And then we kept riding. Actually, Chris's sprocket carrier bearing ended up failing, which this shop on the side of the road wanted nothing to do with. The thought process of local mechanics was a bit weird at times. We were all riding Malaysian plated bikes, so on seeing that, many would say they can't help. Despite the fact all of our models were also produced within Thailand and with only slightly minor variances. There was a lot of hesitation for mechanics to do anything aside from a basic oil change. Ah well, this is Thailand. And with that small rant over, we were at our destination. This small area called Ta Salah, and it really had no tourist attractions, which suited us just fine. This afternoon, everyone split up and did their own thing. It felt awesome to be around the halfway point of our adventure. Everyone had settled in well. They rode safe, they had fun, and they had even built up enough confidence to head out and do things on their own.
It's like a drive-through.
I went for a small ride myself and checked out some of the local spots before we all met for what turned out to be the cheapest dinner of the trip, at only 800 baht for 6 people. And with that, the day was done. Tomorrow was the route I had been looking forward to. We'd be going from the Gulf of Thailand all the way to the Andaman Sea on the opposite side of the country, directly through a national park. On the bikes, and it was finally time for some off-road adventure. Well, almost. First stop of the day would see us visit Wat Jetty Ai Kai. We had a big, possibly difficult day ahead, so any extra piece of good luck seemed like a good idea to me.
Sawasdee krab, aoนี่นะ
โอเค
โอเคครับ
ขอบคุณมากนะครับ สวัสดีค่ะ
อันนี้เท่าไหร่ครับ
40 ค่ะ
ครับ 40
ข
ค
อ
รั
บบ คุณค่ะ
ครับ 40 baht for 2 cocks. It's pretty good.
Good, yeah.
It's not my bike. Looks the same.
This is a temple dedicated to, well, lots of things, but the long story short is that lots of people leave small and large chicken statues here as offerings. Offerings given and blessings received, we mounted our steeds and rode off for what would be the most difficult but most enjoyable day of riding on the whole adventure. Soon we'd be crossing the Thai Rom Yen National Park to the other side of the country. But to be honest, our morning detour to Wat Jetty Ai Kai actually meant we were heading to the national park from a road slightly further north than I had expected. This also meant we'd pass by the last village before the national park, which I had intended to be our main fuel stop before the mountains. Thankfully, in rural Thailand, these roadside payable pumps are fairly common, and after riding past a few empty ones, we found this pump with fuel in it.
This is a rigmarole to do it.
Alright, tanks full and maps set, it was time to attack these mountains. The first sign of change was the loss of cell phone reception. Then next was a couple of minor water crossings.
Yeah, I'm good. Filming. Just be real straight and careful. One at a time. Yep. How cool.
We found the road surface to be dust, gravel, or a mix of both.
Bit of a drop. This is the rest of the trip. Supposedly we've got a left turn in 7.7 k's. It's nice though, our bike gets a wash every like 2 k's.
We crossed the same river a few more times, one of which was thanks to a pretty substantial bridge which had washed off its entire foundations. This road seemed to have been well used at one point, and sometime in recent years I guess, the bridges had washed away, meaning the road was relegated to use by mainly keen locals.
Cool.
Why did you stop?
Big rock.
Alright, I'll go. That's definitely deeper.
Oh, wait here. Yeah, my boots are wet too. Look at your legs.
Yeah. That's it. Mine got fishing tail.
You're right there, Zach.
That's all the way there.
Have we got a photo of this?
No, I haven't got a photo. I'm just videoing right now.
Not long after the last river crossing, we actually found some concrete. Before a left turn saw that immediately change back into dirt and dust. This particular road had more traffic than the previous one. And eventually we came across a small shop, so we wisely stopped for some refreshments. It was at this small shop in the middle of nowhere that the only drop of a motorcycle would happen. Nice one, Chris. 10 points.
Your bike a bit tired.
Now we were finally inside the national park, and the further we got into it, the less used this road became. We were quite lucky there had been no heavy rain, or the surface would become impassable in some places. Most of the bikes were handling it well, but Moraes wasn't geared low enough, and he would have to walk on some of the steeper hills, and Waikiet's smaller diameter monkey wheels meant he was feeling the copious amounts of undulations a lot harder than those of us with 17-inch wheels. Even with some tiny hiccups, we were having an absolute blast. This is the coolest ride of the trip by far, and the funny thing is, these roads are not hard to find in Thailand. Head to a rural area, look for a mountain, find a road heading into it, and you'll likely end up on roads just like this one.
Hi everyone.
By this point, we were deep in what some would describe as the middle of nowhere. But I mean, you can see it, there are people living out here, and for them, this is home. And honestly, I find a huge amount of beauty in the life that people lead in rural areas like this. Riding through these rutted roads and past these humble abodes, I can't help but think of the way some people experience this incredibly diverse country.
Local coming again on a bike with a cool hat. Oh yeah, there is an intersection. We just follow the road around, don't go straight.
Oh, here's the moment we started to leave the national park and some Thai uncle insisted we were heading the wrong way.
Yep. ไปตรงนี้นะไปคลาบีนะสวัสดีครับลุงไปตรงนี้นะนี่มาจากไหนกันไปเอานังคลาบีนะไปตรงนี้นะ
Eventually, I just had to ride off. I mean, I speak basic Thai and I tried to explain where we were heading. I even showed him on a map, but Uncle couldn't fathom the direction we were heading, and even as I rode off, he was insisting that we were heading the wrong way. I later found out we had exited the main entrance of the national park, so Uncle likely thought he had seen some foreigners backtracking after taking a wrong turn on entry.
I don't know, I tend not to listen to a random dude in the middle of the bush. It's like, hey, go the same way as me. Holy shit, stay left, stay left, stay left, stay left, don't stay left. Oh my god.
Anyway, the road started to come back and we were out. After a quick stop for lunch, of course not filmed, we got on the bikes for our last push of the day.
To the rubber, so they put a score in the tree and score it down to the bucket, and it fills up those little buckets with sap, and then they collect the sap. It's like a little rubber puck, and then they go and melt that down and process it into actual big rubber. Chris's bike, suitably dirty but still going. Chris's jacket is no longer white. Andrew's bike's doing well. His shocks, the one on the right's let all the shock fluid out. Legenda 115 fuel injected did well, but didn't have enough gearing to pull up the steepest hills. Never have that problem with a Wave Alpha, mate.
Nah, it's the best bike yet.
Monkey, unfortunately, was being adventurous. Yeah, it's touching now, but it's all good. Wave 125 is a bike. Oh well, at least I spotted it. It's better than something bad happening later. See, that was just floating around. That's all good though. Axle hasn't moved and your chain's not off centre. We just need to tighten this. So yeah, just do those up as tight as you can. Yeah, those are loose too. Cool. Hold on to that and zip it up. All good, guys.
The end destination was Ao Nung Beach in Krabi, easily the most tourist-laden destination of the trip. We had a full day scheduled there off the bikes, which meant a 2-night stay. I specifically chose this location so the guys could get an idea of what a majority of tourists experience Thailand to be, plus we could do some touristy things ourselves. We finally arrived. After checking in, a few of us went to wash our bikes, removing the grime from our awesome day in the hills. From there, it was time to explore, eat food, and eventually get some washing done. I'd ended up booking a long-tail tour for the next morning, and at this location everyone had their own rooms for the night, so at this point we just did our own thing and waited for the next day.
Tour. Yeah, right. Bum 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 bum.
If you've been to Krabi, then you've probably been offered this tour. 4 islands on a long-tail boat, and they were all fairly close to the mainland, so there wasn't endless time travelling on the water. Heading down to the beach, we had a boat number to look out for, and eventually jumped on to begin the adventure. We settled in for the tour, and got to see some awesome sights.
Hey Andrew, can I have a history lesson about this beach?
No.
You just make things up.
Beach was created 5,000 years ago when the dinosaurs roamed Earth.
There you go.
Nice.
Do you know the dinosaurs were here 5,000 years ago?
Apparently.
Yeah.
And this was the second time I've been offered to pilot a long-tail boat. Of course, I said yes.
It's so fucking heavy. It starts going the wrong way. You're like, oh.
And with that, it was our last stop of the day, which we all tried swimming at, but coming from New Zealand, we can be total beach snobs. Only 2 of us made it all the way in, battling rocks and what felt like coral, only to get a lukewarm, diesel-infused saltwater bath before giving up and heading back to shore.
It's as big as your smile.
We'd finished early. It was around lunchtime and everyone had half a day to do whatever they pleased. We met again for a drink later that evening before all deciding to have an early night. Tomorrow was going to be our longest day on the bikes. Sadly, we'd be leaving Thailand, but thankfully our end destination was Penang, Malaysia. Whilst it would be a huge ride at over 500 kilometers, Penang would also be having us for 2 nights, meaning another full day free for the crew to do whatever they choose.
How are you feeling about your long day? Enthused. It's only 500 k's.
We had a huge day in store with over 500 kilometers to complete on the bikes, a border crossing to successfully navigate, and then a huge bridge to cross for our final destination of the trip, Penang, Malaysia. Once we got there, we'd be staying 2 nights, leaving another free day for exploration. Plus, we had the added bonus of local knowledge to make the most of the unique island location. Anyway, we need to get there first. Most of the day looked like this. All that changed was the roadside scenery and the level of fuel in our tanks. We aimed to hit the border around lunchtime, leaving us with a few hours of riding in Malaysia. We kept riding and riding and riding and riding. Last fill in Thailand. I'm not sure how the others felt at this point, but I was a bit sad to be leaving Thailand. The south had been so inviting to us, and I could easily spend months just riding from village to village, checking out the local sites. But again, there was no reason to be down. We were crossing back into Malaysia with one of the coolest destinations on the trip left to go. I guess it's just funny how quick you can adapt to a new location and feel at home, to then leave it behind only a few days later. As uneventful as it looks, this was the border. It was in its own set of mountains and one of the smallest crossings between the two countries. Exiting Thailand was incredibly easy. We had paperwork ready from our entry into Thailand, but all they wanted to see was our passports. Once in no man's land, we quickly realised we had to complete the online arrival card for Malaysia. Then we made it through to the other side of the border without any major events happening.
They're like, we stopped doing paper 3-4 years ago, I forgot how to use it.
And that was it. Back in Malaysia. First thing I noticed was the quality of the roads. Whilst Thailand has some better riding destinations, Malaysian roads are almost always better quality. Aside from our fuel stops and a quick bite to eat, today was all about getting distance under the belt. So, on we rode. Until Andrew decided to have a flat tyre.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we just put a tube in, because that's too many, there's too many things, gaps. This is a Cyc Plus, I don't know what model it is. They sent it to me and wanted me to review it. I haven't had a chance to. But now we're stuck on the side of the road in Malaysia with a flat tyre, and without this we'd be absolutely cooked. It's been in the back of my top box, so the box is pretty ruined. It's a Cube Pro Max bicycle tyre inflated Cyc Plus. I said to them, I want one that can do motorcycles, and they said that's the one. So anyway,
as part of the journey, I carry enough tools on me to change a flat without any issues. It's simple: wheel off, tyre off, tube in, good to go. And thanks to this nifty little pump, we were back on the road in almost no time. We even managed to sort the issue before any of us succumbed to heat stroke. Then the rain kicked in just to make sure we hadn't overheated. It was close to 4 PM by the time we sorted the flat tyre, and Penang was not far away. We made pace and arrived at the old Penang Bridge. The finish was now in sight, only 13 kilometres of bridge left, and would finally be on the island. Penang wasn't a beachy island destination like you'd imagine in Thailand. This was a bustling metropolis with nearly 1 million people living on it. Sure, it did have a nice little beach called Batu Ferringhi, but its main centre was an area called Georgetown, which is where we'd be staying. This island was a main trading route for hundreds of years, with the British setting foot in the late 1700s and even building a fort next to the ocean not long after. We arrived, checked in, and then Andrew went to fix his tyre because I'd actually pinched the tube during my hasty roadside install. With Andrew's bike finally good to go, we ate some food and then rode around Georgetown, checking out the local hotspots.
I'm gonna drink coffee, so you can judge me a lot.
Sky's yellow.
Would you like a history lesson?
Yep.
Hi, so the sky is yellow because the lights, did you know that did you know that diamonds don't shine, they reflect? Thanks.
Andrew, can I have a history lesson of the
100 years old, people live here.
Okay, thanks. Those lights over there are the bridge that we crossed. Alright, you gonna stay at the back, Waikeat? Cool.
G'day and welcome back to Penang. This day is completely free of tasks or responsibilities. Our friend Waikeat had linked up with a local and a few of us would follow them around the island whilst the others just took their time to leisurely explore Georgetown. I decided to go for the ride around the island with Waikeat and his local friend. He was riding a big capacity scooter and after breakfast we set out to see exactly what Penang was all about. The island is 296 square kilometres or 114 square freedoms big. It's connected to the mainland by two bridges, the oldest of which we crossed yesterday to get here, which you've already seen, and the newest and longest we would cross on our departure from the island tomorrow. There is also a motorcycle and passenger ferry going to and from the mainland if that's your thing, or you can arrive here at the international airport. The island does have somewhat of a ring road, which we are currently setting out on, and today's intention was to cover off some of the lesser visited parts of the island. Right now we're riding all the way around to the backside, past Batu Ferringhi Beach, and then we'll dart up over the mountainous centre of the island. This road was proving to be awesome. Not only were the curves exciting, there were local workers sweeping many of the corners, ensuring no slippery flora would cover the road. Penang isn't all love hearts and perfection though. This island is renowned for its atrocious traffic in peak hours. Thankfully, we'd miss most of it on today's ride. Time for the first stop, a dam and its reservoir. Second stop is this recently harvested rice field, which has some incredible artwork in the middle. By now, the middle of the day was approaching. I decided to leave the crew adventuring and sort out an issue with my bike. Remember a few episodes back how I mentioned not everyone wanted to work on our bikes? I'd been denied 3 times over the border when attempting to get my turn signal replaced, but now we were back in Malaysia, it was finally time to sort it. I figured I'd also get a second oil change on the mighty Honda Wave Alpha. Whilst waiting, Uncle showed me some of his racing bikes inside the shop.
Triple J Motor came here. There's my bike this time. Last time we came here because Andrew's bike was broken. I remember this scooter. And they've got, a whole bunch of RGB 120s. There's an FX 125. Or FXR 150 Raider, sorry. Race! Oh! Racing. Wow.
You see my capacitor how big?
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
It's very big. Fast. How fast can go?
About 200 plus
200 plus.
kilometer.
Oh my god. Very fast.
Not enough.
Not enough.
No. Alright. VFR 400cc.
Yeah.
260.
260. That's good. Very good. VFR.
Huh?
This is VFR.
VFR 400.
I ride one time.
This place was the same one that Andrew got his puncture repaired at yesterday, and also the same place we visited in 2019 to get Andrew's carburetor mounting threads repaired.
Close up of the Yamaha gears. Well, this one has auxiliary wheels on the side, so it's literally just kind of bolted on to a couple of places. One wheel on each side.
Anyway, turn signal would have to wait for now. The bulb needed to come from down the road and they were busy, so he asked me to come back at 5 PM. The oil change though was already underway and I'd be gone in a few minutes, or so I thought. So it turns out my oil drain plug was stripped. At this point the cogs start turning upstairs. I'm thinking maybe I'll risk it and just try get back to KL with a possible loose oil drain plug, or maybe I could quickly find an engine to swap in. I mean, it's not hard, I've done that before. But before I had time to consider my thoughts, Uncle had laid the bike down and was going to town, drilling out my oil drain hole, ready for the thread to be repaired.
Very good, Uncle.
Before long, my bike was upright and I was good to go. I think this entire process cost around 15 New Zealand dollars, including the turn signal replacement that I go back for later that evening. I went for a small adventure and relaxed for a while before coming back at 5 PM. This time I managed to convince Andrew to come along with me, and whilst waiting we were lucky enough to see this Honda EX5 covered in flames. How cool. We turned around to see the owner's son in front of my bike swapping the bulb, and within a few minutes we were good to go.
Okay.
Amazing. Thank you, my friend.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chores completed, it was time to squeeze a little bit more leisure out of Penang in our last usable hours on the island.
That's why I drink the great taste of Welch. Yum.
This time, we met up with some other locals, old friends of Waikiat. Food was eaten, and then we jumped on our bikes, ready for one big game of follow the leader.
Okay, we'll get our bike and come.
It's a bit of an adventure.
Yeah. Oh, that way? Okay, we are over here. He's at the... Oh, no.
Those of us behind had no idea where we were going, and before long, we were riding through the middle of a cemetery. Oh, and despite this series having plenty of content, I did miss some great stuff along the way, thanks to typical GoPro glitches at least once a day. Psst, is there anyone from DJI or Insta360 watching this? By now, we'd all seen our destination in the distance. It was hard to miss. This was Kekloksi Temple, but it was different than I'd seen in photos. We'd come at the right time. This was the last day it was covered in lighting for the Chinese New Year, and this is actually a complex of temples built over 40 years, beginning in 1890. It's the largest Buddhist temple in the country, and it gets visitors from all over the globe. Oh, by the way, the lights weren't flashing in real life. That's just camera trickery. It's little experiences like this that would be a huge ordeal without our cup chais. Small motorcycles really are a way of life over here, and even though we'd had them less than 2 weeks, we'd already started taking the convenience of these machines for granted. To end the night, we rode to Chulia Street, close to our accommodation, and had a couple of beers before saying goodbye. Tomorrow was our last hurrah. We'd be riding all the way back to the start, Kuala Lumpur. After adjusting a few things on my bike, it was time for bed.
Why are you always videoing me on my knees, bro? No, I need you to put that down to put it down. Yeah, thank you. That should be
Oh, I didn't realise I was listening it, sorry.
Alright, this is it. The moment we can all start to get a little bit sad. This is the last day of riding. Today would see us cross the longer second bridge, staying on the highway for around 350 kilometers all the way to Kuala Lumpur. This was Thursday. We wouldn't arrive until the evening, and we still needed to get the bike sold and out of our names. The process for that is everything we did at the start, but in reverse. Tomorrow, Friday, would be the last business day in the country for 4 of us, and vehicle ownership for foreigners in Malaysia is exclusively an in-person procedure at the JPJ office. Essentially, tomorrow was our only chance to complete this process, otherwise we'd permanently own these bikes inside of Malaysia. And as cool as that sounds, when you don't visit all that often, it's not the most exciting prospect. If you're watching this and thinking about such a trip for yourself, start and finish earlier in the week, giving yourself plenty of time to sort things at either end. Crossing this bridge was an incredible experience. It was 24 kilometers long from point to point and opened in 2014. Bridge complete. It took over 15 minutes to cross. We were once again about to tackle a long day of highway, but first it was breakfast time in the smaller city of Taiping, and we also did a quick spot of sightseeing at the I Love Taiping sign.
Oh look, I Love Taiping sign.
Just like a fire.
Finally, it's time to make some proper pace on the highway. We attacked another huge hill and our bikes were handling it a lot better than this truck. Down the other side, and we were making pretty solid pace, but eventually traffic on the other side of the road dissipated entirely, and to be honest, we didn't think much of it until we came across this horrific accident scene only moments later. We later learned this was a fatal accident. Only moments earlier, I'd been a little bit annoyed to myself that our group had split up along this highway, only to immediately be humbled and reminded there are worse things happening in the world. Eventually, we needed another fuel stop. Similar to our longest day, all that really changed today was the level of fuel in our tanks as we kept tackling the mileage.
So this is your very typical Malaysian petrol station on the side of the highway. I'm filming weirdly because I got Oishi in one hand. And that was a Boon Seal Honda Cup.
A little bit more wide open throttle and one final fuel stop before we hit the capital. This is the point where it's meant to sink in, right? I mean, the motorcycle portion of this trip only has moments remaining and we're arriving into the outskirts of Kuala Lumpur. But I was so focused on our mission to get rid of the bikes tomorrow, it wasn't really until later that I could fully reflect on our accomplishment. However, that's not an issue for watchers of this video. We can have a recap right now. We arrived as a group on a Friday and Saturday. We bought bikes, all from the same shop, and then patiently waited till Monday morning when they could be transferred into our names. Bikes acquired, we spent a bit of time kitting them out for the trip, followed by a test day close to Kuala Lumpur where we visited both Batu Caves and Genting Highlands. Wednesday arrived and we hit the road, gunning for the mountainous area of Cameron Highlands. We stopped at a tea plantation, saw the country's highest paved road, more tea plantations, and then we thought Moray's bike was properly broken. It wasn't, so we went lightning speed towards the Thai border. Thailand time! First town, Betong, where we stayed one night. We rode around here with our helmets and then further on north to Songkhla the next day with a few pit stops along the way. We saw Cub House in Hat Yai, we met other Kiwi mates, and then a local Thai friend in Songkhla, and we looked at some two-strokes by the beach before calling it a day. The next day was a quick jaunt up the coast, purely to position ourselves for a cross-country trek on the day after that. We bought some cocks, left them at the temple, and then departed the Gulf of Thailand for the Andaman Sea. To get there we had to cross multiple rivers, ascend and descend multiple hills in a national park, and then do another solid session on the highway. Krabies saw us be proper tourists and have a long tailboat adventure before everyone relaxed and we prepared for the longest day of the trip. We woke up, rode till lunchtime, crossed the border again. Hi Malaysia! Fancy seeing you here. Rode some more, crossed a decent sized bridge and then spent the night in Penang. We checked out the island of Penang for a day before this morning hopping on bikes and riding via Taiping back to the capital, Kuala Lumpur. And here we are, back to where we left off at the start of this throwback. After we got back, the cameras barely made an appearance, so a lot of this footage is just going to be stuff from throughout the trip. But we did successfully offload the bikes. They all ended up going to one person and we changed the names back over at a quieter, less used JPJ office compared to the one at the start of the trip.
Hey Andrew, can you give me a history lesson on why we're walking?
Just sold our bike. Cool. Changed our bikes out of our name.
This is how miserable we all look. Our motorcycles.
So, real questions. How much do we lose? Well, the bikes all fetch different amounts, but we generally got back a little under half the value we paid for our bikes. We could have succeeded in getting a bit more if we had time on our side, hence why in future I'd both start and end this journey earlier in the week. But business is business, and when you're under a time crunch, you've got to take what you can get.
Well, that's the end of that. The trip's officially finished, and we have no bikes. This guy owns every single bike. He now has. Yeah. Enjoy. It's finished. This is the end of the video. See ya. Bye. See you tomorrow. Bye, Zach. Bye. And Chris. I saw you say hello in the background before, but I'll get you in. And Waikit.
Bye.
See you later, mate.
Overall, the value of this adventure was incredible. We'd seen 2 countries, each bought and sold a vehicle, made countless new friends, ridden through a national park, ate endless amounts of delicious cuisine, ridden over 2,600 kilometers without major breakdown or injury, plus we'd each spent well under the price of a brand new Honda Monkey 125 in New Zealand. The memories were priceless, our bank accounts will recover, and an adventure like this will definitely happen again. The only question is, are you coming next time?